Okay, so this screencast will firstly introduce the view on witches in Elizabethan times, then different pages from the play Macbeth, which will be analyzed and compared. This analysis will primarily focus on the three witches and their significance in the story in the analysis of Act 1, Scene 1 and Act 1, Scene 3, with focus on meeting with Macbeth and Banquo. So let's begin. Alright, so during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, who died in year 1603, witches and witchcraft were banned and hunted down. People wanted to free society and from these supernatural powers which people believed to be true. This hunt continued during the reign of King James and became even more thorough. As a result, many people were tortured and executed when accused of these witchcrafts and fear. Both for witchcraft and for torture was a great part of society. Usually those accused of being witches were women who were alone, old, and oftentimes also very poor and wise. However, art has always been a reflection of society and the situations that society must face, which is why witchcraft was still a part of literature and dramatics at the time. Besides from King James' own book, Demonology, I don't know how it's pronounced, but it was published in 1597, and William Shakespeare also included witches and witchcraft in his contemporary work, Macbeth. In Macbeth, the witchcraft expresses itself in terms of the so-called demonic possessions, where a demon has assumed control over a person's soul and mind. For instance, in Macbeth's soliloquy, where he sees a dagger and he hallucinates. So moving on, we talk about that in recent times, many people are somewhat drawn towards mystery and magic, which is reflected in, for instance, literature with a certain fascination for the unknown. However, in former times, this fascination was instead of fear for things that could not be explained. Nevertheless, witches and witchcraft were a common theme in art, which the play Macbeth, which is written by William Shakespeare around year 1600, is a perfect example of. Three Witches makes a prophecy regarding Macbeth's future power, which proves to be crucial for his life. In the very first scene of the play called Desolate Place, three witches meet up to arrange their next meeting, which will be when the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won. That would be ere the set of the sun. This quote indicates that the witches are able to predict the future since they know when the battle will be over, namely before the sun sets. This sets the scene to be a great extent for the rest of the play, since the ability will be of great importance in their meeting with Macbeth, which they also mention will be upon the heath. Furthermore, the scene also sets a rather mysterious tone when the witches exit the scene and mention their spiritual animals or familiars. I come, Grey Malkin, Paddock calls. Grey Malkin, which is the first, which is spiritual and un, is a cat, whereas the paddock is a toad that belongs to the second witch. These familiars are known as so-called evil servants that have been given to the witches by the devil. Again, this makes the tone very mysterious, serious, and points to something rather dangerous in the meeting with Macbeth. Additionally, the structure of Act 1, Scene 1 is of importance in the understanding of the setting and the tone. The scene primarily follows the trochaic tetrameter, which is most often used to imply supernatural undertones, as in this exact scene. Macbeth meets the three witches upon the heath in Act 1, Scene 3, but when the witches senses Macbeth coming, they first prepare a charm. Thus do go about thrice to thine, and thrice to mine, and thrice again to make up 9. Peace the charms wound up. This again indicates a supernatural element, both in the terms of the word charm itself, but also in terms of the numbers mentioned. Both 3 and 9 are known to be magical numbers, and the circulation of three witches also indicates a curse being made. With this in mind, the prophecy that the witches later make does not seem a solidly good thing. All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Glamis. All hail Macbeth, hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor. All hail Macbeth, that shall be king hereafter. Once again, the repetition of the number 3, as well as the repetition of the words "All hail Macbeth," imply a supernatural element, which in this case is a prophecy on Macbeth's future. Additionally, the prophecy is rather insufficient. The witches do not tell the entire truth, but only small parts of it just before they vanish with the words "lesser than Macbeth" and "greater," not so happy, yet much happier, with references to Banquo, whose sons will become kings. With this, one's expectation of the shaddiness of the prophecy is met. This prophecy will not be a good thing for Macbeth in the end. In general, both the structure and the choice of words in terms of numbers and repetitions in the two scenes indicate that something supernatural is in the offing. As a result, one has an expectation that something, probably of unfortunate kind, is about to happen. In this sense, the witchcraft and the witches create a lot of suspense in the play, which is only increased when the witches suddenly vanish, leaving Macbeth with a lot of unanswered questions. Yeah, that was about it.